Today I was going to talk about my latest food bank volunteer experience a few days ago. It fulfilling as usual, but a couple things happened which were kind of interesting and gave me some real insight into the high cost of being poor. So once a month I volunteer at a food drive that is about 35-40 minutes from my house. It's at the biggest city in the county and it serves the most amount of people. And the reason I do it is because I have some friends who live in that city, and because they cannot get to the food drive due to their one car being at work, they are the working poor. They designated me as their representative so I can go ahead and do their full pickup for them. So it's also convenient. You know, I go there, I can visit with them, I can do some shopping at Walmart or Safeway or the big stores that are in town. So it just works out for everybody. This time it was a little different, a little tougher. I don't have a lot of experience with these drives. I've done maybe 6, 7, 8 of them since I've started doing this a few months ago, but this was definitely a tough one. For starters, we're asked to come at 8 o'clock because that's when the truck arrives. I never get there at 8. I get there at 8:30 because I can't do the sort of volunteer work that they need at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is helping to unload, setting up tables. There's a lot of heavy lifting, and I just can't do that. So I don't usually come until 8:30 or so when the stuff is out, and then, you know, they need people to start arranging, which is lighter duty. So I got there at 8:30 and the truck had just arrived. Now, mind you, this is a pretty unusual occurrence, and I give them all the credit for getting there at all, let alone on time, because to get to this site, it's I live in a very mountainous region, and these are big trucks, and they have to, I don't know when they have to leave to get there at 8 o'clock, and they're at this, in our county at least once or twice a week, but for whatever reason, they didn't get there till 8:30. So I got there and stuff was just starting to be unloaded. So there was already that delay going on. The next unexpected surprise was that they had a lot of loose items. They had been short-staffed at the warehouse and with the drivers for the last few weeks due to the coronavirus. So what that means is they get food in, and there's always a certain amount of pantry items, like they'll have macaroni and cheese or oatmeal and canned goods, you know, a certain amount. This time they probably had 2 or 3 weeks worth of pantry items. They had rice, they had pasta, they had red sauce, they had tuna, they had salmon, they had canned vegetables, canned fruit, oatmeal, boxed milk, cereal. Just that's just part of the items, which on the one hand is awesome, but on the other hand it can create a huge backlog. The reason it creates the backlog is that they have a certain amount of each item. So per person, you know, maybe they give 2 cans of canned peaches and 4 boxes of macaroni and cheese and 1 box of milk, and so on and so forth. When you have so many stacks of items, like 12 stacks of items, each one with a designated amount to be given per recipient, it can create quite a backlog. Add to this the fact that I'd say 2/3 of the cars driving through are not just picking up for themselves, they're picking up for other people. And we know that because when they come in line to park, they register. Everyone has a bracelet with a barcode, and then they have other people's bracelets with barcodes. And like in my situation with my friends, they've been designated by other people to do a pickup. Because other people might not have cars or might not be able to get there at work or whatever. So imagine a car pulls up with 5 tags. They're picking up for 5 people. So they need 15 boxes of macaroni, 3 boxes of milk, God knows how many boxes of, or how many cans of fruit or tuna or whatever. It is a big mess and can create a huge backlog. So in order to accommodate that, they needed to get as many boxes set up ahead of time with all those amounts already in there. So when the cars drove up, if it was for 1 person or 5 people, all those items would be boxed and ready to go, so they would not be counting them out. So because there were so many items and we had so many cars, there were already at least 100 plus cars waiting when I got there at 8:30. Um, they needed a lot of people in that area to start creating the boxes. So we had a huge like beehive of activity with volunteers there, just packing boxes and counting out stuff to try to get a little bit ahead of the cars that would be coming in. Coupled with the fact that there were less volunteers than before the holidays, due to the fact that people were back at work, or teens that were coming to help their parents were back at school, there were less volunteers than usual, and a great deal of them were being used to pack up those goods ahead of time. So we ended up, because between the truck being late and trying to get a little bit ahead of the situation there, instead of starting at 9:30, we started at 10. And also due to the volunteer crunch, instead of having 2 rows of cars coming in simultaneously, we only had enough people for 1 row. Usually in the middle, we have the big containers of vegetables and pallets with different bread products, eggs, milk, and then there are people on both sides of the containers, both sides of the pallets, passing things out. This time there were just not enough people, so we had the cars coming in one at a time. It was very slow going. People were so patient, and they did get some good stuff there. They got some good canned goods and pantry items. There was, like I said, pasta, rice, cereal, 2 different types of box cereal. There was oatmeal, dried beans, canned beans. They had a lot of that warehouse backlog, so that part was good. As we got closer to the other end of the line, there was still, everyone usually gets a carton of eggs and a pound of butter. That was still good. 4 different bread products or bakery products. So there's bread, there's buns, there's garlic bread, there's brownies, there's pie. There's just whatever is available in the bakery items, we had those there. The only problem was the meat. There were 3 types of meat. There was a package of frozen leg quarters, maybe I think 4 to 6 to a package. There were some nice turkey breasts that looked pretty good, and there was packages of ham deli slices. Those were all very good, but they were in limited amounts, so it was just 1 for car. And it was fine if you were going by yourself, if you just had the 1 ticket for yourself, that's fine. But what if you're picking up for 4 or 5 other people? 1 per car. Fortunately, there was tuna, cans of tuna, and there were canned salmon earlier down the line, so there was something of that nature. But insofar as fresh meat, it was very slim pickings. Due to all these issues, which were nobody's fault at all, nobody's, it just was a confluence of circumstances, people were waiting for hours. I mean, the cars were moving, but very slowly. There were hundreds of cars, and mind you, mainly people were picking up for other people. So, some of the cars, I'd say 1/3 of the cars were picking up for themselves. You could tell because they just had the 1 yellow tag on the windshield. But I'd say the vast majority were picking up for 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. So, no matter how many cars went by, a whole lot more people were getting served. Now, we did start to run out. But they always hold back a little bit, because for the food drive-through, they have a uniform food, uniform amounts. Like they'll have, everyone gets the same peaches, the same canned peaches, everyone gets the same, amount of everything and the same brand. It just is easier to keep track of that way. So, that is stable. However, they also get donations, smaller amounts of donations from stores, so they might end up with a case of canned beans and or maybe 25 cartons of eggs or something. Not enough to put in the lineup, but they hold it back. So as they started to run out, they had these smaller amounts on the side, and were able to compensate. So everyone got eggs. I don't know if everyone got butter, but people got soup, grocery store soup in plastic cups. They got some bread products. They got some fruits and vegetables, maybe lettuce instead of whatever else, but they did get something. So nobody leaves empty-handed as long as you are in line by 11 o'clock. So by the time we got done, it was 1:45, which is crazy. Usually we're done by 11, maybe 11:30, but the combination of the late start and the just the vast amount of people and the volunteer crunch made this a very long and grueling experience for everyone. Volunteers were exhausted. We're literally putting hundreds of pounds of food in people's cars over the course of this event, and I think I calculated I put over 1,000 pounds of apples, maybe more. I didn't actually want to think about it too deeply. 6-pound increments, but multiply that by hundreds of people, and it's quite a workout running around on a asphalt parking lot. But the weather was beautiful and our clients were amazing. When I spoke about the high cost of being poor at the beginning of this video, I was talking about the hours that people need to spend to get services. And again, nobody's fault. Nobody's fault. Everyone was working as hard as they could, from the suppliers to the warehouse to the drivers to the volunteers and to our clients, who were incredibly patient, incredibly patient. They always set up near a restroom, and it's usually in a central location, but people have to wait, and they have to wait hours. And I feel that with the cost of food that we're seeing, the quick rising cost of food, we are going to get even more clients, and the need is going to be greater, and the lines are going to be longer. So what I'm encouraging you all to do is, if you have even one day a month you can go to your food bank and help out with this, I highly encourage you to do it. Not everyone is loading cars. There are a lot of different jobs you can do. You know, every food bank is different. But this situation is not going to get any better. Even in the few months that I've been volunteering, I have seen a complete rise in the number of clients. And I've heard from longer-term volunteers that this is definitely not just my perception. So as we go into this new year, we're well into the new year. Never forget those who are not as lucky as we are, not as fortunate as we are, and they need us probably more than ever. Hoping that you are doing well, that you're warm, you're cozy, you're happy. Thank you so much for watching.